I'm Dave Jones, her business partner and husband.
Yes. And we have been in the market and the business for, I've been doing this for 35 years. Did everybody get this other piece? I did.
No.
Okay. And so I 35 years I've been a salesperson, a managing broker, back to salesperson, actually promoted myself. And Dave's been with me. He was in the mortgage business with Prosperity Mortgage for 14 years and then joined me as a buyer's agent in 2009. So we've been working together 9 years. I primarily focus on listing property. He primarily focuses on buyers because of his his experience with mortgage and with actually sitting and talking with buyers about all of the needs and details and what they're looking forward to in their purchases, etc. So, and today we're talking about working a schedule and working in your business and also on your business. But there are a couple things I wanted to touch on first before we get going on that. First, I'd like you to introduce yourselves to us and tell us who you are, how long you've been in the business, and what's your business goal for the, let's say, next 12 months. How many transactions would you like to do in the next 12 months? So,
I'm Dawn Van Kuren. I've been here for 15 years.
Yep.
And my goal is 7 million.
Okay. What's your average sales price?
I would say right around 450 to 400.
Okay.
Maybe. Yeah.
Okay. So that's about 14 transactions. Perfect. Yeah, 7 million. Martha?
I've been doing this 3 years, and I haven't set a goal for the next year. I have my goal for now till the end of the year is 6 transactions.
Okay. Okay. So this is for the last quarter. Okay. Perfect. All right.
My name's Tara, and I just got my license this May, so brand new.
Yay.
So I don't know that I really have a number goal. My goal is just to learn, like a couple clients before my 1 year is up.
Okay. So one of the things we're going to talk about today is setting a goal. So you know what you're working towards, so you can then build your schedule around it. So
I'm Conrad Cuton. Working on about 5 months now since I've had my license. I'm still currently running a business. I'm trying to take her off. I'm trying to get out of it. But at this point, I'm same as Tara. I'm still in a learning curve.
okay.
And at this point, no goal.
Okay. So no goal at this point. If you were to leave your job, how much would you need to make from this business in order to make that happen?
You mean like a parallel transition?
Yeah.
Yeah. I have to make 6 figures.
Okay. All right. So just $100,000, would that work, or does it need to be
A
larger?
minimum of 100.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's trying to get you to be specific.
Yeah.
Grow up. Grow up.
Exactly. All right.
Bob Padgett, my wife and I have been in business, real estate business for 18 years. I'd like to do about 15 transactions, and I'd say the average sale price would be about $500,000.
Okay. So almost 7.5 million. All righty.
I'm Linda Jordan. I work in the personal office. I got my license in 2012, and my goal for next year is 10 transactions.
Okay.
What was it last year, Linda?
8.
All right, so that's good, right?
20%.
But I'm behind this year. I needed to catch up this last quarter.
Okay. Well,
Yeah. But last year I had a good year.
well, the great thing about today is that if you take this information and you start building your business plan and your schedule and activities, you've got 15 months to do a 12-month plan. So, start today, decide what you want your income to be, how many transactions that's going to mean, and then move forward from there. So our goal is 50. And so far this year, we're at about 35, 36. So we've got a lot of work to do in the last quarter of the year, the next 15 months, or excuse me, next 3 months. And then next year, we haven't figured it out yet, but it's probably going to be 60, just because, you need to have an increase. And the market will be there to help us do that. Couple things just in general, philosophies that I use. I work with the Mike Ferry organization. They are an incredibly wonderful training and coaching program that I have been subscribing to since I went to my first Mike Ferry event in 1994. So, and I've been in their coaching in one way or the other since 95. So this is 18, so that's 23 years. And it's just done an incredible thing for my business to follow this program. And if you want to see, they have all kinds of things that are free online. The email address is mikeferry.com. So if you want scripts and dialogues, if you want guidelines on building your business plan, if you want to see how to build a schedule, that's actually this information in this handout is directly from their information. Just go there, mikeferry.com.
There are also videos from people who are doing
YouTube, yeah.
50, 100, 200, 300 transactions a year, and it's incredible to hear how they set up their organizations, but how they got started and how they plodded along until they got to that point. So
Right.
a lot of valuable information that's free.
Right, and we all plod along at high volume. And, we work the same number of hours that you probably work in a week. I'm in the office by 7:30 in the morning and leave, unless there is an appointment in the evening, leave by 5, 5:30, 6 o'clock, somewhere in that range. And you can do nothing and be tired, or you can accomplish your goal every day and have it be a better tired. So something to think about.
Hey Pam, before you go on, let me ask you, I understand that you guys, when you get in the morning, do you close your door and like I've been told you have a sign that says, look, we're busy, don't bug us, right?
There's a stop sign.
There's a stop sign on your door that says we're working.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's also a sign on the door facing in with a picture of Mike going, start prospecting now.
See, it's the little things, right?
Exactly. And there are a couple of other little things that,
By the way, when that sign's up, even our assistant does not come in.
yeah.
Okay, so that's a rule, right? And you've been doing that for a few years, Dave, I think, right?
Had that sign for 5 or 6 years.
I've had that sign since 1990.
Okay.
Now, did you?
That might be a cleaner one, newer one, but I've had
One other thing, because I know what sometimes people are asking me, do you, before you started doing it in the office every day, did you find you tried to do it at home and then it's too distracting, there's a dog or there's somebody calling or you get a snack or?
I don't call from home, I don't do anything from home, I come to the office and I start work. When I go home, I lose my mind.
Okay, yeah, that's true, I think, right?
And we moved in March, and I have been attempting to work Mondays from home because we have a shared office space here.
Yes.
And we're in our office. And frankly, it has been way too distracting for me.
Yeah.
At home.
At home. And for other people, works
It
great,
might work,
but
yeah.
being in the work environment, you come in, you're dressed, you're not in your
Yes.
pajamas. Make
Your workout
It
clothes.
sets the day,
Yeah,
it sets the tone.
You're
Yeah.
professional. You're coming to work,
Right.
and you're doing what you're supposed to do. So.
Yeah,
Okay, and so I'm gonna probably write a bunch of different things up
I'll
there.
move, or Connie, can you move some of that since if you don't mind, we can retape them.
Well, okay.
Yeah, that's okay, we'll just retake them.
Just
Okay.
in some of the mindset things I want you to know about, because what I'm gonna ask you to do is build a business, not just sell real estate. There's a difference between being an independent contractor or an entrepreneur. So who wants to be an entrepreneur? Build a business that will fund everything you want in life, absolutely everything. So there are 4 rules. You need to write these down. Rule number 1 is show up, and that's what we're talking about right now. Show up wear work clothes. If you were to get a listing appointment right now, would you go out dressed the way you are? I just did that.
I use a paper towel.
Hold on, do it again.
That's
Do it
all right.
again, never mind.
No worries. That's my picture.
Sorry.
I'm going to talk about that in a minute. Okay, yeah, show up as if you were going, if it was a business appointment. Because if you had a listing appointment scheduled, would you show up in your, jeans, or would you show up in work clothes with a tie on or in a dress, ready to be seen by somebody who's going to pay you? Your average sales price is $500,000. That's $15,000. Would you get dressed for $15,000? What would you wear? Second is pay attention. There are a lot of details to listing property. There are a lot of questions you're going to ask people, and you need to listen to those answers. Pay attention. Pay attention to market trends. Pay attention to what Dave tells you. Dave is your coach. So I want you to start calling him coach instead of boss, because that's a whole different thing. Tell the truth. When you are in front of a seller and you are in competition most of the time, where you're competing for business with another agent, tell them the truth about what the market will bear for your home.
That's number 3.
That's number 3. Tell the truth. And then the 4th is don't be attached to the outcome. If you're desperate, they smell it. They hear it in your voice. And if you're not attached to the outcome, if you have a plan and activities you're doing and plenty of leads in your pipeline, you can be honest with the client and then ask them to sign the contract. And if they say no, you're going to learn how, not from me, but if you use the Mike Ferry scripts, you're going to learn how to handle their objections and get them to say yes. So anything you want to add to any of that?
And she's mentioned Mike Ferry a few times. There are other coaching programs that people can certainly be involved in. This is one that just works for us. But there are a lot of free materials there with all of these coaches. Why not take advantage of that?
So, okay. And I drew this little picture that looks like a earthquake, seismic. And this is the typical day of a real estate agent. Okay, you wake up late, you're not feeling really good on the way to the office, but you get there and someone has called to say, I'd like to list my house. So your emotions go from here to, hey, wow, this is fantastic, I'm so excited. And then, for instance, this morning I got an email from a seller who said, if this contract doesn't work on this house, I want to take it off the market until the spring. So what do your emotions do?
Yeah.
They plunge. Crap, I worked so hard, I paid for those those photos, I put all this work into it. Crap. And then something else good happens. You get another positive phone call, or you set an appointment while you're making your prospecting calls. And so, okay, this is very exciting. And then you find out after you pre-qualify that they owe too much money to be able to sell the property without bringing money to the table. And the day goes like this. Does anybody ever have that happen in their life? Okay. What I would encourage you to do is to work on keeping your emotions between the lines. Make that seismic chart a whole lot tighter, so you're only in here and you don't have all this chemical reaction in your body. Depression, you don't have to eat that donut in order to feel better. That's what happens in our lives, is that our emotions are out of control because we don't know what to say and do. Does that make sense? Okay. So And then the other note that I wrote here, when I generate, I don't have to tolerate. Who has clients that they would rather not be dealing with? So, yeah. Yes.
I'm sure Eve's waving her hand here online.
Okay.
Like you can't hear, but she's on here.
Okay. Yeah. When I generate business, I don't have to tolerate cranky people, unmotivated people, unhappy people, people who are just not realistic about what they need to do in the business. And by the way, I talk all about listing property, because when you list property, you control your business. It is duplicatable. It is just, and you employ all of the other real estate agents in the marketplace instead of being subject to a buyer running you all over the countryside and then deciding, oh, I'm just going to rent for another year or whatever. I'm sure, we've had those issues, so I'm sure that's happened to you as well. As I mentioned, I used to be a managing broker, and I left that because I started working with this training system and making these plans and working these in my schedule as a broker to help my agents learn how to do this. And they just kept, it's like my vision of Loudoun County is there's this river of money that flows. Does anybody feel like that happens here? River of money. And everybody was a toe dipper. They dip a toe in and then get scared and take it out. Or maybe get up to the ankle, maybe have 4 or 5 transactions in a year. Can you make a living on 4 or 5 sales in a year? Okay. I wanted to dive in head first. And so I stopped managing because I was spending all of my time with people who were not motivated to take advantage of the wonderful things that go on in Loudoun County and the opportunities of the people who need us. Does that make sense? Okay. And as we go through, Dave's going to pop in a little bit about, how this works. But I just think that there is a tremendous opportunity and will continue to be as long as we are focused and working and have a schedule.
And Pam, just one thing, so we consider this year being kind of slow. Like I sent a message out to our offices and I just said, look, it's a little slow for everybody because I don't want everybody to just be so down on themselves and think it's them that they just throw their hands up. Let's be honest, it's a little bit of a slow market, but you still are at 35 transactions for the year, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So you're maybe down a little off of last year or a couple of years.
Right, even.
You're about even. Okay, so it's doable.
There's no question there are fewer transactions.
Yeah, there's just less inventory, so by math, right?
Yeah.
There's been peaks, I think. Like the spring was pretty good.
The nice thing about being in Loudoun County is if you look at the statistics, 400 homes are sold every month.
Yeah.
At least, yeah.
Yeah, and that's really October, November, December. There are 400 homes.
Yeah,
and if there's 2 sides to every transaction, that's 800 transactions that are taking place even in December.
Yeah.
And because we have employment, people want to come
Yeah,
here.
if you take the holidays out pretty soon, you
So
can.
what that really means is that you have a higher percentage of the market share this year over probably last year.
This is true.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying that. It's true.
Well, I think
I like all those things.
plus like in Ninja, I think Larry Kendall's always talking about don't keep pace with the market. That's just average.
Well,
those are people that work weekends only and that's average,
Yeah, well, an average sucks.
Yeah, right. Try to beat
it. Really does.
Exactly.
It really
Well, and
does.
if the market is increasing 5% and you're increasing 5%, then all you're doing
It's
is
staying even.
status quo.
Exactly.
Okay,
You're
so
building your business.
Yeah.
So if there are 1,200 agents that are DAR members,
Yeah. I
1,100,
think, yeah.
1,200, something like that.
Yeah.
And 400 transactions a month, so that means that, let's see, 400 times 12 is 4,800, divide that by that 1,200, and only people are averaging 4 transactions a year. Can you make money? Can you make a living on 4 transactions a year? Oh, that should be 800.
Yeah, it's actually 800 because there's 2 sides to every transaction.
Okay, well,
So
okay.
that makes it 2.
Still, can you do it on 8? The answer is,
Not to live in this area.
yeah, okay, right. Yeah, what's your average commission? It's $10,000.
And that's decreasing. There's like so much compression on commissions. Like
Right.
you may need to bump it up a notch, right? From like
Right.
10 years ago.
Well, and you have, health insurance costs are rising.
Yeah.
All kinds of things that are going on in this business that you can control. Well, that you can't control, but you can control the inflow by doing these kinds of things. So you need to decide what your income is going to be. If you want to go to this first page, what do you want your total income to be for the year? And in order to figure that out, what do you need to cover your housing costs? What do you need to cover your business expenses? What do you have to set aside for taxes? How much do you want to put in your savings account? All of those things you need to add up and then total that, and that's your number. And I would add whatever you need to have to cover all your expenses and put money away, I'd add 25% to cover your taxes. So, you got to figure out that number and then work backwards to figure out your number of transactions. And if your average, let's say your average commission sales price is $500,000 and the gross commission is $15,000, you're going to make somewhere between, as a new agent, $7,500 to $10,000 of that, depending on your level of experience and your commission level within the company. And frankly, I love the commission plan here because the more you do, the more you get to keep long term. So do your, grow that business and you get to keep more. It's a great opportunity. So how much is your income? How many transactions do you need based on your average commission? How much of that would you like to have be from listing property? Because if you want it all, if you figure out you need to do 20 transactions in a year to make that goal, and you want it to all be listings, then you have to figure out how many appointments do I need to go on, and what's my average? You need to keep track of your numbers. There are actually forums online to do that, and work your way, from how many do I need to close up to how many do I need to take, how many appointments do I need to go on, how many contacts do I need to make? Any comments on that?
Yeah, that's really critical, and particularly as you're getting started, it's easier to start tracking your numbers right away. How many prospecting calls you're making, how many actual leads turn into appointments, how many appointments turn into transactions. The other thing is that as you have transactions, keep track of those so that in future listing appointments, those are your references.
Yeah, that's your
and they're right there. And so whether it's 1 or whether it's 100 or whether it's 900, the information's right there, and then people are really impressed. And I don't think they care if it's 900. I think if you could always, even if you're brand new, you could always say, well, my last 3 were.
Right, or my office.
Yeah.
The office is productive, so I can use the office production. We have done. We've closed 400 transactions so far this year, me and my team.
And there's a kind of a stupid joke that says when you're brand new in the business, go out and sell a piece of land, because then as your first transaction, because then when people say to you in the future, well, how much business have you done? You can legitimately say, I sold a lot.
You're hired.
I don't know if
Yes.
you're gonna cover this or not, but do you have like how much you spend on your business expenses, like as a percentage of your income or something? How do you figure that out? Are you just
Like marketing? You're talking about
marketing, all kinds of expenses.
Right. Most of we don't really do marketing. I mean, when you list a property and you pay for photos and it goes out on 700 websites and you have List Hub to track, what the activity is, really all of your marketing is pricing it right. Everything else flows to that. 80% of selling a listing is getting it priced properly.
So do you have I mean, I know it's just
Well, there-
photos and signs and all that stuff, but
Right.
does that come out to a certain percentage of your income?
We're not
You don't really
particular.
track
It should be as low as possible.
Right.
So
And it's gonna change as you do more volume or less volume. If you're doing more
Right.
volume, some of those costs are gonna be fixed.
Mhm.
So as you do more, but I would safely say as you're in your first few years, it's probably 50% of what you're, because 25% of it's taxes.
right.
And then the rest of it. So, and that's one of the things that I always find a little bit misleading in our business and why the public may not think we're always worth all the money we're getting. Because, even if you made 100,000, the reality is you're probably netting 50
Right.
after all of your expenses. But that's not what the public thinks. They think
Right.
walking out with $100,000.
So it's just when you're making your goals, you've got to kind of figure
Right. And I
50%
think,
of your gross income is your household income.
right. And I think Dave can help you kind of identify what those fixed expenses are going to be, because, I mean, being a member of your local realtor association and MLS and Central Lock and all of that are also a part of your business expenses. They're a little more fixed than,
Errors and omissions insurance.
right, all of those things.
Plus, like, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, plus for you guys, what percentage do you think is repeat sort of just referral business? Because you know how like that ramps up over time. Like, near the end for me, it was almost all referrals.
Right, okay, so
Yeah.
let me back up a little bit. When I made the switch back to sales, I had all of my past clients and centers of influence were in the Alexandria to Woodbridge area. And I made the switch when I was here in Loudon. So it had been 10 years since I'd been an active agent. So I had to start from scratch. I made just sold calls around other agents' listings. Actually, it was CC.
CC sales, yeah.
I called around all of her new listings. I called around all of the listings that sold in a week to 10 days and used the just listed or just sold script, which is there's a property, in this case, not I just listed, but there's a property that just came on the market in your neighborhood. It's on Tavern Drive. It's a 4-bedroom, 3.5-bath house, and it's on the market at $500,000. I was wondering, who do you know that wants to move into the neighborhood? They would answer, I know someone, I don't know, whatever. Great, thank you so much for thinking about that. By the way, when did you plan on? How long have you lived at this address? Where'd you move from? How did you happen to pick this area? If you were to move, where would you go next? And when would that be? Obviously, you realize it could take 3 to 6 months in this market to get your home sold and closed. Did you know that? So my question is, do you want to be sold by that date you told me, or do you just want to go on the market at that time? Fortunately for you, all we need to do now is set an appointment so I can help you get what you want in the time you want. Won't that be great? Terrific. Well, when's the best time for you? Is Thursday at 5 or would 6 be better? And I said that hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times to get going. In my first full 12 months, I made $150,000. I think I hit $250,000 the next year, and after that, it was $300,000 and more. And all I did was practice and rehearse and memorize and use that script. And then we've built a great
Referral
center
business,
of
right?
past clients, centers of
What would you say
influence.
percentages now? Is it like 80%, 90%
It's
is referral?
70, 75.
Is referral? Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Super.
I think we're going to talk about some referral sources pretty soon because a lot of ours comes from a unique source.
I got you.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, we're really just going to talk about the basics of growing your business. So this little goodie, we're going to go to, once you set your goal, and if you have a basic or past client center of influence base that you know are going to generate transactions for you, figure out how many of those transactions are coming from there. So, just to do the math, let's say your goal is 24, and you know that maybe not half. If this is a stretch goal for you and you've never done that, let's say If you think 10 of them will come from the people that you know, and you have to be in touch with them, but you don't have to spend a lot of money to do it, then you have a goal of 14 pieces of brand new business. You need to talk with, make contact with 14 people a day looking for business as you're starting out in this, because you don't have any history of what your numbers are. Does that make sense? It may sound daunting, but you got to do this and keep track. And the more you do it, the better off, the better your business will grow. I know you didn't get into this business to just putz along. You want to make a lot of money off of it, 6 figures. And if 24 transactions times 7,500, does that get you over $1 million? Close? Okay. So you need, maybe 30. So let's think about that. So schedule. These are the components of a great daily schedule for a real estate agent. And the first is practice role playing training. Every day I have a role play partner, and I practice a script on the phone with someone who lives in another part of the country. And I change role play partners on a regular basis. And the reason we do this is so we can memorize, rehearse, and internalize the script. So when I ask a question, I can actually hear what the person on the other end of the phone is saying to me, instead of thinking about what I'm going to say next. So the script is a track that gets you to where you need to be to determine if the person you're speaking with has a need and has motivation. And it has to be a part of you so you can make it work. So, that's scheduled for me at 8 o'clock every morning. From 8 to 8:30, I have a role play partner. And back to one thing on your business plan. I apologize, I forgot one thing. As you're growing that plan and trying to figure out how many transactions, how much you're going to work, I want you to get a calendar. And I got this particular one because it makes me laugh. It says, oh crap, is today the day? So, and on this, every month, I want you to write down how many days you're going to work and what days you're not. Because we are not 24/7 people. You can't function. Other professionals don't work 24/7. Your attorney is not available 24/7. Your doctor is not available 24/7. You are professional where they practice. That's where the practice and role play comes in. They practice. You plan your month. So, for instance, this was February. We didn't have any vacation plan, but in March, this was last year, we planned and went to North Carolina for Dave's birthday, which is St. Patrick's Day, from the 16th to the 20th. We were off. Every Sunday, we are off. And we only work on Saturdays to either prospect for new business or get a contract signed. That's it. There's no, okay, well, you're thinking about something, or a buyer who isn't really highly motivated. I haven't picked out a house, so we're not writing a contract today. We schedule that during the week. Rarely do we have unmotivated or people who are not ready to make a decision and sign a contract on a Saturday. Now, if I had someone who wanted to sign a listing contract on a Sunday, and that was the only day they had available, I would eke that out. But say you need time off, you need those weekends, so put that on your calendar. And then what that does is it gives you the ability to say, okay, in this 365 days, I'm going to work 240. It has your vacations. Mine has my seminars and training sessions on it, stuff that I can project because, I know where I'm going and what I'm doing most of the time. And then you plan your
What are the
schedule
little
around that.
houses that are on?
Oh, yeah, okay, and then also on here, because it's hanging up in the office. And I also, at the beginning of the year, I draw in houses so I can keep track of what we do. So as you can see, in this month, 2, 4, 6, 8, I drew 8, I only got 6 listings that month. But I write in here, you know, when we took listings, when they sold, when we had higher sales, anything that is piece of production goes on this calendar. So I can sit in my office and say, I had a pretty good month.
So are blue buyers and red
Blue
sales?
sales. Mhm.
Good question.
Yeah. And actually, you know, and so there's, I'm sorry, did you know?
Are the houses, the closings that you
No,
got?
these are signed contracts. These are new listings taken, because if you don't have listings taken, you can't get listings sold. So start with the success of taking a great listing at a saleable price.
And those would be green.
And those are the green.
And I know with technology, people use several forms of calendars and so on and so forth. What makes this so effective, at least for us, is that it's right there on the wall. We see it every day. You see what your goal is for the month. You see, okay, I'm supposed to sell X for the month, and I'm only here. So it's extra motivation.
Right.
I mean, you can keep all this stuff on your phone if you want to, in addition to it. But
Yeah.
this is like
This
having
is
your
a
business
great
plan right in front
I
of
think it's better in the paper.
Really simple.
Yeah.
That's me.
Take a picture of it if you want on your phone.
you. Absolutely.
Exactly. Well, and I've done that. I've actually sent it to my coach. You know, here's where we are, and this was the end result. It was a great month. Thanks so much. So
And
coach-
subconsciously throughout the day, whenever you glance there, you may not even be thinking about it. There's something to be said for that. It soaks in somehow. I don't know how.
Sure.
So what do you do if you get a call on Sunday? Do you not answer, or do you answer if you
It
don't get it on
depends.
Monday?
Oh, okay. Getting calls. I don't give out my cell phone number very often. Occasionally I do, but I have my cell phone voicemail forward to my office. So if I get a call anywhere, either in the office or on voice cell phone, it's at the office, because I used to have 2 different places and I missed some. And I get a page that I have a voicemail. So on my time, I can listen to it and figure out if I need to call it, but I don't just miscellaneously answer the phone in the middle of the day on Sunday. So that helps you control your business as well, because it's about taking control of your business. Is that okay? Okay.
And I've certainly gotten calls from people who were brand new buyer prospects who wanted to go out on Sundays, and I'll call them back and start that relationship. But the very first thing I'll do is say, that's fantastic. The first thing you need to do is speak with a lender. And in essence, what I've done is just shifted this to Carlton because they need to contact him and get pre-qualified before, and I'll explain to them the importance of it. But it'd be something really, really special for me to go out on Sunday.
That's Carlton is their Brian,
Yeah.
Yes.
their lender.
Exactly.
And I think his office is right next door to you, right?
Yeah, it's on
Right
the
to
other
the
side.
drywall.
That's good, right? You can say like, I got somebody, pick up your phone.
So, and that's, Brian's fantastic.
Yeah.
too.
He is.
He
We're
worked in
very
our
lucky.
office for a while. You are,
He was trained by Carlton.
Yeah.
you're blessed to have him. So, anyway, back to schedule, practice and role play, prospecting, that's your business generation time. That appointment is as important as a listing appointment every day. Lead follow-up, easy to understand. The thing you need to make sure of is that you don't have people in your system who really aren't leads. And you need to define what a lead means to you. So is a lead somebody that will list their home or buy a home in the next 7 to 10 days? Or is it 30 days? Or is it 6 months? And what do you do with those? So you need to define what that is in order to be in a position to spend your time wisely. Bite your lip. You got anything to say on that?
Well, this is an area where NAR will even tell you that where most realtors fail is lead follow-up. They've got a perfectly willing and able person on the other end, and they take their time returning the calls or don't return the call at all, and then all of a sudden those people move on to something else. And, and again, we're a little bit older than you all, so some of the things we still do are old school. But if I get a customer, if I get a new lead, let's say I put it on a 3x5 index card, and not only do I put all the information on because I can keep them in with me all the time, but I also put in the corner the potential commission amount. So when I'm looking at that card and it says $12,000, I have a lot more interest in
Incentive.
making that follow-up phone call
Sure.
than not.
That's a great idea, because I'm like, well, I've got these people I'm kind of working with, but do I think I will hold it for them now, or do I say,
Well, they're on a napkin or they're on a, I mean,
Yellow
sometimes,
sticky.
your system, ultimately you get them into your CRM, but the cards are, they're in front of you all the time.
Right. And I used to carry a briefcase all the time. Now I don't carry it. Because as a professional working in the office, all my files are there. Most everything I need is either saved as an email on Outlook, and I have subfolders where I just pull everything about a particular transaction or listing over to that subfolder so I can look right there and see. And then probably 30 days after it closes, I'll delete it. Or, or unless there's something funky going on or they're doing another transaction, I want all that information. But, I don't carry around a lot of stuff. And, on lead follow-up, if you've got somebody, and we've been at this for a long time. So we have a lot of people who say, well, we're going to do something next spring. I don't not pay attention to that. Some agents, when you get to the point where you're doing 100, 150, 200 transactions, you can decide not to pay attention to that. But some people, okay, I'm just setting up for spring. I'm doing all my repairs right now. We're getting the house into condition so we can go on the market in February. I'm in touch with those people. They say, oh, call me back the first of the year. Well, I call them back next month, and then the month after that, and the month after that, because if I don't call them back until February, they've already heard from a different agent and they've made a decision to move forward. So it's just, it's that consistency in service. And recently I had one who somehow managed to list with a different real estate agent, made a stupid mistake, overpriced his house. That's what it was. The agent bought it by overpricing. She did not tell the truth. The listing expired. He called me and he said, I'm working with you when I put it back on the market in the spring because you call me and you call me and you call me. I couldn't call him while he was listed with someone else, but the day after it came off, I called him and I said, I see that for whatever reason you weren't able to sell your home. I am still here for you. And I am still willing to help you make this happen. Please give me a call back if I can. So,
Can I ask a question about prospecting? Is your prospecting, is it only calls? Or what else do you do?
I make phone calls.
You have money
Or your
$100.
Oh, I'm throwing.
I was
That's the
hoping
door
no one
prize.
would say.
I make phone calls. Sometimes I email if it's a particular person, but I make phone calls to people because or text, email or text or message or Facebook, you're not hearing, you don't have a conversation. You're not hearing the tone of the voice. You're not hearing the question in their minds. You're not able to ask the next question that came up as a result of whatever they told you.
But now those aren't all cold calls. Some of those are past clients. So
Oh, a lot
part
of them past
prospecting,
clients.
and
I
so it's
call-
mostly people you know now.
Right, I call expired listings and expireds and withdrawals, and I call past client centers of influence. What I do, I have, we have 900 in our database, and so and in a quarter, I want to talk with them each quarter. So that means out of the 60 days I work, I need to average 15 contacts a day with my past client centers of influence. And then to make my number of 22, which is my daily goal, I have to talk to other people. So expireds or withdrawals, just listed, just sold, old expireds, things like that.
Do you leave
Well,
a, oh,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Dave. Do you leave a message? Do you guys leave a
For
message?
your
If-
past clients,
Yeah,
yes.
so if you don't get them live, you leave a message to other folks. You say, well, I'm going to call them back, try to get them live, or
Yes, and then at the end, if you can't get them live, but you can get a voicemail,
yeah,
you know, Dave, this is Pam Jones.
Yeah.
I'm with Long and Foster. You know, I saw your home came off the market. I've been calling for the last 3 days trying to reach you.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to bother you any longer, but if you really would like to know what it's going to take to sell your home, give me a call back.
Yep.
And sometimes they call and sometimes they don't.
I think Tom Ferry does something too where he ranks it, which I think it's not rocket science, where we go like face-to-face is primary, then a phone call with a message. You know, you can, it's logical.
Right.
By the time you get down to just a postcard,
Uh-huh.
the ratio is super low.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
if you can have coffee with somebody.
Well, and you have to pay money for
Yeah,
that.
yeah, that's true.
You know, this is free.
Yeah, that's just your
This
time.
is time you would spend doing something. You might as well be talking to people.
And by the way, you made a statement that I wanted to clarify because it's a general belief that people are, we, for instance, are making cold calls. We don't look at them as cold calls. We look at them as warm calls. If it's an expired, they're already motivated to sell their home. So that's not cold call to me. Is though I open the phone book and I pull a name blindly and I call them up. Even just listed and just sold in the neighborhood are still. Believe me, every neighbor wants to know what the home that you just listed for went on the market for.
Yep.
They're all curious, and then once it sells, what do they want to know? What did it sell for?
So how do you get their phone numbers?
Good question.
Haynes Directory, Kohl's, if they're, I mean, that's basically you have to go searching for them or pay for a service.
So is that what you do? Pay for
Yeah.
service? What's it called? Haynes?
Haynes Directory. My office, the agents in my office would order it. We share it every year. So it costs for us.
H-A-N-E-S?
H-A-I-N-E-S. Has a lot of other good information too, so. But I think, 10 people share it and it costs $900, so everybody pitches in 90.
And some people don't use it probably. And then you can come in and clean up.
Well, yeah,
Good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you.
most people don't use it.
I
Had a
get-
question?
You mentioned that somebody might say, I might be listening in the spring, but you call them every month.
I try and stay right on
So
top.
what do you say to them when you call?
I just noticed that a home in your neighborhood went on the market for X and sold for X, just so you're keeping you updated on market trends.
Think of a reason.
Right. Oh, yeah, there's always a
Keep in
reason.
touch or.
Right. Yeah, or, interest rate projection is X, and what that's gonna mean to you is that, if they're going up, that shrinks the pool of buyers. So please keep that in mind as we're getting ready to put your home on the market. Right now, I probably would be calling people to say, if you need to do exterior work on your house, do it now. Because, based on the last 2 years where it rained, all of April and all of May, you're not getting the exterior of your house painted. So do it now.
The other thing is, we're going to have people who are going to say, well, I want to put my house on the market in January. Can you come by, take a look at it, and tell me what I need to do now? And when you do that, and that's wonderful.
If you decide to do that.
First of all, in many cases, they may decide to put it on the market now after they see what they could. But the other thing is, even though they're not going to do it until January, she's getting a listing signed today.
Right, yeah, there's some, if I can do that, if there's work to be done and it's within a relatively short period of time, I have people that have strung out for 3 or 4 months sometimes, and we just extend the listing. But we go ahead and sign the agreement.
You update the price when it actually goes on the market.
Right, we redo the market analysis and make sure that, we're still in the right ballpark.
And how do you get them to do that? Can we just tell them you can start marketing it?
Well,
now?
yeah, or, do you feel that I can sell your home? Or do you feel comfortable and confident that I can sell your home based on what I've shown you in my presentation? And if they say yes, I say, great, let's sign the contract now so I can start pre-marketing it. We can keep an eye on what's happening. And I can spend my time, my valuable time, helping you prepare the house. Helping you find the right contractor, helping you get it so you can make top dollar. So sign it as soon as you can. Thank you. All right, pre-qualifying, they're on the Mind Ferry website. You gotta pre-qualify. You know, if you don't pre-qualify a seller, has anybody ever gone on a blind date?
Conrad has.
Dave has. Dave's still doing it.
I did one last night.
So you
What do you want to know?
No, I did.
I would probably, but I did it.
So you don't know what you're getting. You have no idea when you go on a blind date. Well, if you don't pre-qualify the seller, you have no idea what you're walking into. You have no idea how their home compares with the neighbors. You have no idea what they owe on the property. So you have to pre-qualify 100% of the time, 100% of the people. Even if it's your best friend, pre-qualify. Use that script. And again, it's a real simple, just a real simple script. But it asks some tough questions. The first question is, if what I say makes sense and you feel comfortable and confident that I can sell your home, are you planning to list your home with me when I see you this afternoon at 5? Now, I don't schedule appointments for the same day if I can help it, because I want to do thorough research and I want to get a pre-listing package into their hands. So, and you'll learn all about that if you look on the Mind Ferry website. But I want to know where they want to move, when they want to be there, what takes them there. You know, what's the motivation and timing. I want to know how much they think their home is worth. So, you know, that's a question, and I'll think about it.
Do you plan
Oh,
to
were
sell?
you planning to interview more than one agent for the job of selling your home?
Did you consider selling it yourself?
Oh, wait, yeah, that's later. But yes, so let's see. What price would you like to list your home for realistically? You throw that realistically in there.
Is that after or before you show them your?
Or that's way before. This is all pre-qualifying.
Oh, okay.
You don't spend time with them. If they don't have a time frame, they don't have any motivation,
Or they think
they
their
can't,
house
they
is-
won't tell you, yeah, they think their house is up here when it really, is a much lower price. How much do you owe on the property? You know, if they don't owe anything, I've got a lot of equity to protect for you, don't I? If they have this much room to sell and get out of there without having to bring money to closing, yes, you got to deal with it. You have to know that before you commit your time to working with them. And if they owe more than it will realistically sell for and pay you and the other agent in the transaction, you got to say, do you have cash to bring to closing? Are you willing to go through a short sale? Or let's wait a couple of, or can you wait a couple of years and then see what the market brings you? And, you know, I'll stay in touch. I'll keep you updated, but I'm not coming to your house right now. So the proposal appointment, you know, you put a place in your calendar for that, negotiating or closing for the agreement on the listing, negotiating contracts. Administration and tracking has to be in your daily schedule, but it's this much of your daily schedule, not hours and hours. I get in at 7:30. I do a quick look at my email and whatever admin that my assistants left for me from the night before. I turn off my email. I prepare expireds. I do my role play at 8. At 8:30, I'm on the phone. There aren't any expireds or withdrawals right now, but I call those folks or make an attempt. I start calling my past client centers of influence people. If I get through all of those numbers and then have time, I call around my listings and call around my listings sold, especially if it was a quick sale at a price over list. I think we've done that 16 or 17 times out of the 35 transactions we've done, listed and have the market drive the price up. And then after the prospecting session, you can go back to a little bit of administration. You always have to have time in your schedule for screwing around. That's number 9. Actually, you need to have time in your schedule every day for lunch. Take an hour for lunch. turn off your phone, have something that's nice, a nutritious meal, read a great book. If you have the opportunity to have lunch with a potential business source or a past client or somebody you want to say thank you to, do that, then go back to work. So, and then of course we talked about scheduling time off and do that first.
One of the funniest but the most critical things on here is scheduling your screwing off time.
Yeah.
Because the reality is it's human nature. We're going to do it. We're going to have days or parts of the day when we're distracted or whatever. Put it in your schedule.
Right.
From 1 to 1:30 today, I'm going to walk around and I'm going to do whatever.
Right. Just don't walk around and interrupt other agents working. Does that happen a lot here?
Yes.
Okay, don't do it. And tell them, I've made a commitment, I have a schedule, I'm sticking to the schedule. And maybe more of that will be happening. So, let's see, then back, I guess, there is in these first 2 pages of the annual business plan is all of, we're figuring out your numbers and then a blank schedule for you to copy and fill out. Also, major challenges and solutions. If you have a challenge that you don't feel that you know enough to do the business you want to do, one of those challenges is, where do I get that information and how soon? If your challenge is, I've got kids I gotta, take to school and pick up, and I need to plan in a narrower window, that's a challenge. How do you work around that? I mean, be realistic about what you're up against, so you can say it, address it, and figure out the possible solution to that problem, or at least have a method to solve that. So if you go, I think the 3rd page in that little package is how to plan and structure your day. And let's see, you've got priorities each day, make it fun, smile. I'm not smiling a whole lot right now, and I can feel that. But smile when you talk to people. I stand up to make my phone calls. I stand up and I have a mirror in front of my desk. And I smile at myself in the mirror when I'm talking to people, because they can hear it. Only 7% of communication are the words we say. So it's a good idea to have the right words. And when you know that, when you know what you're talking about, know how to present, then it's easy to smile. It's easy to have energy. As the day wears on, he says, I turn into an Italian. Because I'm gesturing and laughing and carrying on, whatever, as the day goes on. So every now and then he mocks me and I make a gesture. So
A non-Italian gesture.
a non-Italian gesture, right? Exactly. But we jotted down a few notes yesterday about, prospecting is tough. And probably one of the things right now you're a little bit nervous about making those phone calls. But I tell you, there's a book called Eat That Frog, and the old
Have
saying
you read that,
is,
Martha?
I haven't done one.
Brian Tracy,
Yeah.
I believe, wrote that. And the saying is, if you have to eat a toad, have it for breakfast. So you're not anticipating that all day long. And also make it clear to your customers and clients that in that block between whatever time you start and the end of your prospecting, which should be about 11:30, 12 o'clock, in that block, if they have an emergency, they should be calling the fire department, because that's the only real estate emergency there truly is. They can leave you a message, they can send you an email, and I'll be getting back to you at 11:30 or shortly thereafter, whenever your prospecting day ends, because that way, as long as they know that, and as long as you're making that commitment, showing them your schedule, that part of the reason I prospect is to promote your property. When I talk to the people in my centers of influence, I talk about, I just listed this fantastic home over on Lois Lane in Brampton. It's a Gulick house, 4 sides brick, 2-car garage, it's gorgeous. Who do you know that might want to move into that neighborhood? And by the way, how can I help you with your real estate needs? Is there anything that, that I can assist you with or information you need from me? Terrific. So, and those are just some of the things that we talk about. Sources, you need to decide what your sources are going to be, kind of under the number E prospecting. Are you calling past client centers of influence? If you don't have a big group of past clients, or you don't have people from the business you were in prior to, you're going to have to start from scratch with just listed, just sold. You can door knock and do this too. Kind of fun. Actually, every time I go door knocking, I get a piece of business. And I should do it more often. It hasn't, for whatever reason, I'm not doing it. But if somebody says, I like seeing you face to face, I want to work with you. And you talked about mindset, Miracle Morning. You want to mention that?
Oh, there's another book called Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. Thank you. There are 2 or 3 of them, but one of them is the Miracle Morning for Real Estate Agents, and that's the one that I enjoy the most. And basically, it talks about the importance of your morning, and it's as simple as do your prospecting in the morning so you get it done. Then you can do everything else. Because if you start working on all of your other administrative stuff and your issues in the morning and your frogs and your toads, all of a sudden it's 6 o'clock in the night, you haven't done any prospecting. And one of my challenges from time to time is when I get really, really busy, I get so focused on making sure everything is going right, and they all close, and then it's, oh crap, I need business. Whereas if you're consistently using your morning to prospect over and over and over, you're not gonna run out of business.
You know something else too, because I started listening to this podcast recently, and they interview successful people, and of course I think people know that, and this isn't a political thing, but say in the past, President Obama or generals that fought, in different wars, that had high levels of achievement and activity in a given day. In other words, they got, an Edison, Steve Jobs, so they got a lot done. None of them ever say, I get up at 11 or 12. I mean, it's like insane that we know that, but we don't do it.
What is it that says, is it the Marines that say I do get more done by 9 a.m. than the rest of the world?
It's like 0 dark 30 was the time we had to get up. Like there's not even a number. It's just like when it's still dark, like you're up.
Right.
Well, in the book, and again, it's a story about a real estate agent who was really struggling until he changed his whole way of thinking.
Exactly. You lose a day if you're not by I bet you by 7 and you're not out and about having coffee and working. I think it's almost the day's over.
Well, he's working out in the morning. He's
reading,
journalizing
meditating,
in the morning. He's
devotional, whatever it
what
is.
he's going to do for the day.
Yeah.
And what he's not doing is watching the news.
That's right.
That was a big
one,
thing
right?
for us.
It's overstimulating.
We would watch the news at night before we went to bed, and it would usually be bad, and so then you're not sleeping well. And then you wake up, and what do? You turn the TV on and you watch the news, and it's bad, and you're like,
now a fight we had actually.
No, I agree.
Years ago about we're turning this off.
It is. It's
now it's sports and weather, and with my Nationals, even that's bad news sometimes. But then you arrive at work with a very positive mindset,
and it's clear. It's not really overstimulated. It's
Right.
And even another thing that he does is he reads every morning out of some book. And, I'm going to get the books mixed up here, but there's another one that called The Slight Edge that talks about if you read, people say, well, gosh, I don't have time to read. Well, if you read 10 pages a day, so let's say it takes you 10 minutes, 10 pages a day, that's equivalent to about 12 books over the course of a year.
Yeah, very achievable.
All right.
No, that's okay. I took you to 11, but for questions, but we've had, it's okay because we've had questions interspersed.
Right. And so I wanted to just kind of speed up on this
it's
a little bit.
It's your schedule.
So if you turn to, I think, the next page that says time management, it's pretty, a lot of this is self-explanatory. At the beginning of the year, we talked about determine the days you're going to work. Number 2, your schedule should always be based on the goals you've set for the year, not anything else, and stick to your schedule. Careful not to create a schedule based on someone else's production, because every schedule is designed individually. Having a precise schedule can solve almost every production problem you have, provided you follow it. Number 5, I made some notes. Treat your business as if it were a real job, which makes your schedule easier to follow. So did everybody have a real job before they started this? And they, no?
I was a stay-at-home mom.
Okay. But you have a schedule, you know?
Kind of.
That's a real job.
Yeah, that is your
Well, yeah,
I mean, you had to get them up, you had to get them
The pay
dressed, you had to
sucks.
feed them, you gotta do this, you gotta do that, you gotta take them to doctor's appointments, go to soccer games, all that nonsense, you know, everything there. So yes, you have a job. Question for you, is being your own boss now tougher than you thought it would be?
Yes.
There you go. It's, you've got to work at this as if you were a business owner and not just an independent contractor. Entrepreneur is the word that needs to stick in your head. If you limit the amount of time you work, number 6, if you limit the amount of time you work, you force yourself to be effective in that time you work. Again, don't be a 24/7 agent. Make that schedule, share it with the people that are important to you, share it with Coach Dave. Be clear to your clients that you are on top of your game between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, available by phone and email other times. You know, I tell them, if you wake up in the middle of the night and you've got this blazing idea or question, send me an email, leave me a message, I'll answer it in the morning. I'll get the information to you and answer it in the morning, but likely, if it's a real problem, the attorney's not awake. You know, the settlement office isn't open, the lender's not available, the underwriter's not available for sure. We'll get to it during business hours. But yeah, if you think of it in the middle of the night, get it off your mind so you can go back to it. Do the most productive thing possible for 30 minutes of every hour, number 7. Number 8, keep track of your time hour by hour for 2 weeks to identify the strengths and weaknesses of your time management system. And send a copy to your Coach Dave.
Has anybody ever done this? Track their schedule for everything they did for, it's frightening
Frightening.
It is frightening.
how much.
You'll jump
wasted
off a
time
bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Number 9, your daily schedule should be kept in a place where it is seen by a lot of people because accountability is critical. You know, you can write it, it's like writing a business plan and having all your challenges and solutions and everything, and then sticking it in the drawer in your desk. Your desk is smarter than you. Your desk is not going to hold you accountable. You need to share all of this with people who will help you be accountable and will coach you. And don't be a secret agent. Don't put a do not disturb sign if you're prospecting at your desk, which by the way, I have a private office, but I didn't always. And when I was a managing broker, I was sitting out in the bullpen in a very small office, and I was making recruiting phone calls at my desk to demonstrate to my agents that I practiced what I preached. So I set you up for
Yeah.
full accountability there,
Yeah.
Coach.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
You're right, actually.
Yeah. And let your assistant or let your spouse or let your best friend in the office know your schedule and give them permission to hold you accountable to that. And then number 10, really important, because you need to have a dream to make this, to give you motivation to do this work. So create a stronger focus on your personal motivation and time management. Where are the places you'd like to go? Write down the things you'd like to do and the things you'd like to have. So we call it a dream board. Dave has one up on the wall. I just have this thing in my head. My retirement job in 7 years is going to be as the beverage cart girl at a golf course on Maui.
Nice.
And I have an actual photograph of myself on that golf course several years ago. Hair color was different. But every now and then, for motivation, I look at that. I tell everybody, that's what I want to do. That's why I'm working every day. And I will tell you that once I defined that, it has changed the way I work. Even though I've been doing this for a long time, it has ramped it up for me. So, but write down your dreams. Get pictures. You know, the dream board, you get a bunch of magazines for stuff you like and pull out pictures and put it on the dream board.
Sometimes it's a fun activity to do as an office.
Yeah.
Just bring in a bunch of magazines.
Yeah, we did do that once. I can't remember how long.
I have suits, I have cars, I have
Yeah.
islands that I'd like to visit.
Right,
Yeah,
now
that's a great
share,
idea.
Bourbon.
share this with your family as well, so they see what's in it for them. You know, so they're invested in your success and aren't taking you off track. So next page, number 11, not having strong personal goals and objectives always causes a time management problem. You know, connect your activity. You have to be able to connect the picking up the phone call with the achievement of the goal. And as you're keeping track of how many calls you make, how many contacts, how many appointments you set, how many listings you take, how many buyers, sales you do, and how much you make from that, you'll actually be able to predict that for every person I speak with, I make X dollars. For instance, for every person I speak with, I make $106. So every no is $106, because eventually, I mean, you know, you get lots of no's before you get yeses, but every no is $106. You're a whole lot happier when you know that, okay, I did my job, got that one, call the next. Got that one, call the next. So when you get that yes, you know, 1 out of 10 or 1 out of 20, and that means an $8,000 commission. All of those no's led up to that. But if you're not making the calls, you don't have that opportunity. You know, I used to say that some real estate agents go out and look for business, and some real estate agents wait for it to come to them, and they sit there with their mouths open waiting for a roast duck to fly in, you know? I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
Okay. Your schedule's a working document. Be flexible. Imagine that I'm personally sitting with you and watching you work, or Dave. I'm not going to be here. Imagine that your coach is watching what you do. Look carefully for what doesn't work in your schedule and talk to Coach Dave about it. And be willing to change it. But remember, you need to make at least 500 contacts before you declare prospecting ineffective. Because I swear that you will have business from this. I swear that it will be there. Following your schedule is simply developing a habit like any habit you have. The more often you do it, the easier it becomes. Remember, it takes time to create a habit. Stay consistent for 90 days. But actually, if you are consistently prospecting for the next 90 days, while the rest of the real estate industry is giving up because it's the holidays, and nobody buys or sells property during the holidays, that's local.
Except for those 400 a month.
Yeah, except for those 400 a month, which are 800 commissions. If you do that for the next 90 days, you will experience a fantastic 2019. Fantastic. I started in the business in September of 1983, and just, you know, I didn't do exactly this, but I just worked at it. Actually, I started in a Sears store in Alexandria at Landmark Shopping Center, and there were 3 of us to cover all of the store hours at the real estate desk. So I had to do 25 hours a week of floor duty. 25 hours. So, but people came to me and I learned my skills, and while nobody was there, I was studying, I was writing contracts, practicing, studying the MLS, going out previewing property, learning all the things about the business that I would need to know when a person walked in, or when I made that contact and they wanted to list a house or buy a house. So there's stuff you can do. The more clear you are as to what you want to accomplish, the more sense your schedule will make to you, and the easier it will be to follow. Be prepared, number 16, be prepared to review your goals or revise them, and more importantly, edit your schedule every quarter. Not every day, not every week, every quarter. That doesn't mean give up after the first cranky person, by the way. You know, we have a rule in our office, no cranky people. So if somebody is mean to you on the phone, just say, thanks so much, have a nice day. They are just not in the space where they need to. And that's the thing to understand. Yeah, next. You know, how David Letterman, remember David Letterman, he threw the 3x5 card that he was using, and you hear the glass crash. Just keep that in your mind. Next, crash. You know, we reach people that don't want to talk to us, and that's okay because that means we get to the next one faster. Remember that working 5 days a week is normal. Working 7 days a week is abnormal. Take time to refresh and renew. You need to take care of yourself physically, mentally, and emotionally. The rest, you know, is pretty self-explanatory. The last thing I underlined on this is number 22. The last line of number 22. Prospecting is the core of the business that makes everything happen. Everything. So the number 23 are some suggestions on what to do with your time, how to put that onto your schedule. You need to make a schedule that is working for you, but that also pushes you to accomplish your goal. If you have any questions about numbers, you know, scripts, how to do a schedule, you can go on that website, mikeferry.com. And as a what did I say, 24-year devotee, I invest $12,000 a year plus some travel expenses to be coached by
Mike.
Ferry.
Wow.
And it has paid me back in millions and millions and millions of dollars of income. It is an investment, not an expense. And frankly, all of the rest of the training and coaching that is out there is not about making you money. It's about making the coach money. They want to make you feel good. So you'll go to their seminars over and over again and you'll buy their crap and mail it out. Mike wants you to come so he can help you do the basics of the business over and over and over again. He doesn't sell stuff that sits under your desk. He just says, go to work. So, you know, there are lots of other people out there. I've looked at a bunch of them. I've seen agents fail year after year after year because they wanted to do something that felt easy. Don't feel easy. Make this work. It is a gold mine.
Yeah, there's no shortcuts.
There are no
There are no
silver
shortcuts.
bullets.
Yeah,
Nope.
no silver bullets, no shortcuts. I'm going to unmute everybody. There's about 5 or 6 people just to see if anybody has any questions. If that's okay. Anybody have any questions?
No. Nothing for me. Great presentation. Thank you.
Andrea, do you have any questions?
I'm good. Thank you, Pam. And Dave.
Thank you.
Dan's on there. Can you hear us, Dan? Sorry, it's Moxa. Margie, any questions?
Pam, it was a great presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Glad you're feeling
How you
better.
doing?
Good.
Yeah, good.
She looks great. Have you seen her recently?
Not like that.
She's really great.
Yeah.
Jessica, you have anything? Some folks don't have mics set up. But anyway, man, that's super great. Yeah.
Something I've noticed over the years, maybe how do you turn off the emotional side of it and not get all wrapped up in the emotional?
When you generate, you don't have to tolerate. So when you have more business, you don't have to be emotional. What it does, okay, here's the example. If you walked out of the office and you fell and broke your ankle badly, and an ambulance came and they took you to the hospital and they rolled you into the emergency room and the doctor walked up to you and said, "Oh my God, that is the worst break I have ever seen." How would you feel?
Terribly scared.
Terribly scared. But we are the calming influence. Ani, I have seen this hundreds of times. We are going to fix this. We're not going to have any issues. A little bit of healing, a little bit of physical therapy, and we will have you back to 100%. How do you feel? Exactly. That's what we do. We are the calming influence in the real estate transaction. We say to them, I have seen this, and if I haven't, my broker has. We will get through this. And the more you do that, and by the way, don't talk to everybody about the stuff that's going on in your business. Don't tell them that you're having problems and issues, because that just ramps that drama up. You want to keep the drama away. Deal with it. Ask Dave.
Yeah.
You know, go to the lender and say, explain to me how this happens and what we can do to fix it. You know, I had a listing recently that we listed at 560. We had a contract, it fell out. Buyers got the willies. Sellers, I went to them and they were a little upset, although they still had some time. I said, let's change the price, because we got lots of showings, but only this one offer. Let's lower the price to 550. It opens it up to a whole new set of buyers, because buyers search in those increments, those groups, like 500 to 550 and 550 and higher. They don't go to 560, they don't go to 549, 550. That gets you the most hits. In about a week, we sold it with 3 offers for 565. So it actually sold for more than the original list price. But it was like, hey, this is what the market's delivering. Here's what we need to do. Let's review, see how we can make the house more appealing. And then, of course, at 565, we might have had an appraisal issue. So same kind of thing. I did a market, got a package together for the appraiser to say, another house sold on the lake at 565. And then there was another one that back to the lake, same general price range. The 2 that sold for 550 in the neighborhood both backed up to commercial property, which the appraiser might not have figured out all on their own. Plus, I put in copies of the other 2 contracts so they could see that there was competition for the house. So all of that kept us from being in that position of, holy crap, we have a low appraisal. So, you can think this process through and ask Dave and ask your lender for help on those kinds of things. And also RGS Title, the folks there are terrific when there are title issues we need to deal with. We had a deal this year where we had a tax lien on property and weren't sure we could get it to closing, and Elise, who is the processor, said, oh, well, was it a continuous marriage? Were the owners married through the whole ownership of the property, and did the tax lien happen during that time? Well, yes. Okay, well, it's a continuous marriage, and the tax lien was from the husband's business, so it doesn't apply to their personal property. She got us to closing, but without talking with her about that and having her think that, hey, there's a way around this, we would have lost actually both sides of a $888,000 transaction. That would have been some drama in our house.
The drama is exhausting, isn't it? The drama is exhausting.
Yeah.
If you're in this business and like every deal is a crisis, you won't survive.
Right.
And neither will I, because
Well, I was in this promotion spot.
Yeah. Right. It's chaos. Yes.
When I first went to my first night ferry event.
Yeah.
And I was a broker.
Yeah.
Can't imagine
Overwhelming.
I was getting a paycheck. I can't imagine what agents were feeling like.
I think of real estate as like a duck. If you've ever seen a duck on a pond, he's very calm,
Yeah.
he's head above water, and underneath he's paddling like crazy
Yeah.
to keep things afloat. But,
Going like that.
Leave that up if you don't mind, Pam. Like
Sure.
the tolerate things. We'll
Yeah, I
we'll
am.
reiterate that on Tuesday.
Absolutely. So, oh my best, actually.
But we got it. Like we've got a spray for that.
Okay, cool.
I can't believe how I'm so grateful for y'all. Thank you.
Yeah,
very
Absolutely.
well done. This is what makes, I think, Long & Foster different than a lot of brokers. I'm not trying, that's not a spiel. I don't think a lot of other brokers, successful folks actually get out and spread it. They're very secretive because they don't, that scarcity versus abundance. They think if you sell it, then I can't.
Well, have you seen my license plate?
Yeah, yours actually says abundance, doesn't it?
does.
That's right.
Yep.
Which is the key. Even Lillian will go around and talk to people as busy as she is. She'll spend as much time as you ask her for.
Well, and the
That shows you something.
thing that I have learned over the years that only 1% of the people that I teach
Yeah.
will actually do it.
Right.
So I'm not teaching
That's
a
true.
competition.
No, you're right. That's true.
I have a question.
Sure.
You had said earlier that about 70%, 75% of your business is referral business.
Past client centers.
Past clients and referral business. But you still process
not only your past clients, but you prospect
Other
the unknown
sources.
people.
Right.
So would you say that about 30% of your business then, if 70% of your business is referrals,
We know.
would 30% of them be as a result of the just listed, just sold, withdrawals?
Some of that, most, maybe about 20, and then the other 10% are the odd, sign call or internet inquiry or something like that.
So I'm wondering what motivates you to want that 30% of those and not convert them to referral business or ramp up the referral business?
Because I want to grow.
Okay.
I want to grow.
Referrals, there's probably an attrition.
Well, yeah, there are people who move
Referrals,
out of
right?
the area.
Yeah.
And that's one of the problems with being a listing agent is that if they don't buy in the area,
Right.
Eventually they're going to time out. So yeah, you're right. Absolutely. There is attrition there. And the other thing is that you always got to be growing your business because market cycles happen. And so I had to define actually contacting people I didn't know as finding new friends because that's my personality style. I'm not a driver. I'm an amiable personality. And so, it just has to be, I'm here to serve a need if you have one. And if you don't, that's okay. But, it's all about finding new friends. So, and you just get over it. Get over a lot.
Perfect. And look at you, right on time, too. You are the time blocking king and queen.
There you go.
11 o'clock. It's like 11:03. Thanks, guys. All right, so cool. Awesome.